Discretion is advised.
Over the last month or so, I've been shooting Holga 400 film pretty much exclusively. I picked up about 20 rolls of 35mm from B&H.
Wow.
And I've been running it through some tests. I've been testing it from 100 all the way up to 1600. And in this video, I want to share with you guys, I guess, my results and then also the testing process that I used. I set up a tripod and I shot the same scene from 100 to 1600. To save some film, I would shoot each ISO for about 4 frames, and then I would take the camera into the closet, clip off the exposed frames, and then I'd store those in some marked canisters. I developed all the rolls in the same sequence, using the same temperature and the same chemicals. The only variations for the different ISOs would be the development times. Each test clip was developed one after the other, so I used some sticker labels to note the ISOs. In addition to the tripod 100 to 1600 test, I also shot some full rolls of random stuff at different ISOs to see how everything looked. As a starting point, I used the Fomapan datasheet's recommended time of 8 minutes for ISO 400, and then I adjusted the other speeds using the 30% per stop rule.
What is the 30% per stop rule when pushing and pulling film?
The 30% per stop rule is just like a good rule of thumb to help you kind of guess times if you don't have any exact times that you're going to go from. For example, if you're shooting a 400 speed film and you want to shoot it at 800, but you only have the times for 400, say the time is at like 8 minutes as an example, and I want to shoot it at 800, but I don't know the time. So I'll take 30% of what the known time is, which would be 8 minutes, and then I just add that on top of it. So instead of 8 minutes for 400, it would be 10.5 minutes for 800. Let's open one of these babies up and see what we got. Hey, what is this?
Fun fact, the internet says Foma is best shot at 200.
Something I found interesting was that I read in the datasheet, Foma states that this film can be exposed at variable speeds and still developed at the standard time and temperature with good results. So I tried it out and I shot the same scene at 200, 400, 800, and 1600, and all of these were developed at they were on the same roll and developed for 8 minutes at 20 degrees Celsius. And I gotta say, I think it's pretty passable. All of these look, evenly developed and good to go. Obviously, the 200 is going to have more light given to the film, so you're going to have increased shadows. And surprisingly, even the 1600 has still retained plenty of shadow details, so I would say that statement's pretty accurate. Now, all these rolls for all of the tests and everything that I've shot was developed in Tmax Liquid Developer. And if you're wondering, why that specific developer, it's basically because most of the 400 speed film that I shoot, I usually push 2 stops to 1600. And Tmax Developer is known as a good developer to use if you're pushing films. So it's kind of what I have around, and it's what I was going to use.
My God, are you still talking?
So if I had to describe Holga 400, I would say it's probably a gritty film with a lot of character. There's a lot of grain at any ISO, and like any film, the amount of grain is going to be more pronounced as you underexpose and push the film. There's a halation and an increased red sensitivity to this film that gives it a unique, almost ethereal look. Highlights can have a bit of a glow to them, but it seems like the highlights can blow out just a little bit sooner than other films. Do you like grain? I hope so, because Holga's got more grain than a teenager's cystic acne. In some of the test images, the grain was just absolutely insane. The grain structure isn't tight and neat like Tmax or Delta, but it has more of a classic traditional look like Tri-X or HP5. Now, if you guys were to ask me if I could just pick one ISO out of the whole group, what would be my choice? I would probably say 320. And that coincidentally is actually one of the same ways that I love to shoot Tri-X. Unfortunately, the high ISO results around 1600, I wasn't too much of a fan of. The images were kind of too contrasty and too grainy for me. Different developers can reduce or accentuate the grain, so I've picked up some D76 and I want to run these tests again and kind of see what results I have and then compare them, compare the D76 with the Tmax to see if the higher ISO images are going to be a little bit less grainy. So I grabbed the F100 and some Holga 400 and a black Polaroid card, and we're going to take some multiple exposures. Oh shit, I forgot to hit the multiple exposure lever. So I probably got 2 awesome half pictures.
No more lo-fi beats to cringe to. That shit is canceled.
And as you can imagine, testing a film for about a month or so, you're going to come away with a bunch of notes. And I couldn't possibly share everything here in this video, so I have a whole blog post with all the details and all the nerdy, times and temperatures and everything that I used. I'll list all that there. There'll be a pinned comment below with a link to that if you guys want to check all that stuff out. That wraps it up for me, guys. Hope you're all well, and until the next video, we'll see you. It has more of like a traditional look, kind of like Tri-X or XP5. XP5? What the fuck is that? XP5. Did I really just say XP5?